Some members in the party didn't think I should have been selected. So it was a bit of proving myself. And I think I proved myself from the very day that they enabled me to stand in that position. So during the campaigning phase, even when I would knock on members' doors or people's doors, straight away, laugh in my face, I had racism from the very get-go. And I had a woman, her name was Rosina Purnell, and she told me, actually, you would face racism, ageism and sexism. And I did throughout the whole time. But it didn't deter me because I was really excited. I completely can resonate with everything you just said.
I'm sure you can. God, when I was looking at your background, it's very interesting. And you grew up where did you grow up again? In
Noak Hill, so it's in Havering, near Harold Hill, Romford, just on the border of the M25. We get to Brentwood.
Right. I don't know why I've never heard Noak Hill, because I went to college around there.
We were talking about it earlier,
Because I went, I know like all Howard Wood, Howard Hill, Gideon Park, because I used to go through those stations and stuff. Noak Hill, I don't know. But then I know in Havering, because you started up the what was it called? Havering, Racism Havering? Or?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So that's what I was like, okay, I'm sure you probably can in some way relate. And it's quite interesting as well, because of your background in campaigning and the politics and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
When I was reading about you, and I was thinking, I was just thinking, what was it like? Because you were so young as well.
Yeah.
You're still young now, but how old? You were 22 when you got elected,
I was 22, yeah.
So you were so young. Probably, I don't know if you started when you were like 21 or something, but doing all that and knocking on people's doors and people probably looking at you and being like, what?
Yes, there was a lot of what? There was a lot of racism from the very beginning of my political kind of journey. And it wasn't hidden. I grew up in Havering, so I've always lived there. I was born in Harold Wood Hospital. So I always remember having difficulties with regards to my race because I was always either one or two of, Black heritage within the classrooms. That would be primary school, secondary school, until I got to college. So when I now was going into politics, the reason I got into politics was because I did this program. It's called Uprising Leadership Program. And then it motivated me to join the Labour Party. That was 2016. I joined excited. You see on social media, right? Like, it's very diverse, the Labour Party. Then I go to my first meeting and everybody there was over 50, predominantly white. I was the only Black woman.
Wow.
Youngest as well. Then another young guy joined. His name was Adam, and both of us did youth officer. So it was a really exciting time because the community there, even though they were relatively older than me, they were so excited to see young people getting involved in our local constituency party. That's what it is. It's called CLP. I just was door knocking, was doing youth officer. I had a background in public relations. So I was doing press releases, articles for the local Labour Party, drafting their leaflets, using my skills. And then people said to me, you know what, you might be good at, running to be a candidate for the local elections. So I was just like, okay, I'll give it a go. Did the application, got through, but there was a clause. You had to be a member for a year. I hadn't been a member for a year at that point. But people just said, go ahead, we'll get to that at that point. Then I knew a mayor in Barking Dagenham at the time. So she mentored me, prepared me for the interview. I did the interview, passed, then came sorry, you haven't been a member of the Labour Party for 1 year. So we're going to have to use our discretion. So they did use their discretion and allowed me to go forward. Then I had to draft a speech. I was actually travelling to America. So the speech had to be read out for me. And I found out on holiday that I had been selected by the Labour Party to run in the local elections, which would have been 2018. So then it was like, go, 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 go from there. We campaigned for 2 years. And then obviously we had we had the general election as well during that time as well. So it was campaigning for that, but then also, preparing ourselves for the local elections. And when I would door knock, Havering's a very interesting place. The seat that I was planning to get elected in currently had 2 Labour councillors and then one who was a UKIP member or a resident. Sorry, I forget now. Resident, I think he was.
What's the difference?
UKIP, so residents is usually set up by the community. So it's a resident group. UKIP is like, Labour Party. But yeah. So you can have we have a big residents association in Havering. So there's quite a lot of residents group who don't want to be associated with any of the traditional political parties. He had been there for, I think, about 10 years.
Okay.
So here's this new black girl, you know, from nowhere, hasn't studied politics, you know, hasn't gone to Oxford or Cambridge, just come out of nowhere. And it ruffled some feathers. Some members in the party didn't think I should have been selected. Others, I lived in Goucher's ward, so not Heaton ward where I was actually standing. So then again, it was irritating to some of those people. So it was a bit of proving myself. And I think I proved myself from the very day that they enabled me to stand in that position. So during the campaigning phase, even when I would knock on members' doors or people's doors, because we get kind of like a list and you can see who's a Labour supporter, non-Labour, etc. So when I would knock on certain people's doors, straight away, laugh in my face, I had racism from the very get-go. And I had a woman, her name was Rosina Purnell, and she told me, actually, you would face racism, ageism and sexism. And I did throughout the whole time. But it didn't deter me because I was really excited. Because when I would knock on someone's door who wasn't politically engaged, who felt like the Labour Party didn't listen to them, it just excited me to know that I could come in and support and make some change despite anything. So yeah, that's what kept me going, really. But
it sounds like it was tough though, and you mentioned that you was always like one of the one or two in school, whatever. Yeah. So that was always like your experience, and then stepping out into the world of politics. And that, again, it was similar, maybe slightly different because there's also the age aspect and sexism aspect and that kind of thing. But again, you're still one of people that look like you and come from a background like you, and then you're facing that level of backlash as well. And I know it sounds like you had some support behind you as well, which probably helps. But what do you think kept you going? Because that sounds like it could be incredibly tough to be getting doors in your face and laughed at. And I saw some stuff in the media which we can get into as well.
We can get into that
because of your outfits and all sorts of stuff.
Yes, like. You can get into the outfit. What kept me going? I've always been a strong individual. Growing up in Havering, like I said, it was predominantly white. So going to schools which are predominantly white, you're going to have people not understand who you are. Like you said, when we were talking earlier and you said your brother went to Cornwall, and some people, because they haven't interacted with a black person, they don't know how to engage, what to expect. They can only perceive certain things based on what they've seen on social media and the news outlets, right? So growing up early 2000s in, Havering, being called monkey, Maltesers, I'd come home, cry. My mum's a very tough woman. She doesn't take crying, right? There's a problem, get up. So my mum, she doesn't allow, get up, go back, be stronger, call them pink. Call them pink, like if they call you Maltesers, call them pink. So I didn't call anyone pink, by the way. But my mum just didn't allow me. So I was very tough. And because although I grew up in a predominantly white area, I had cousins in Southeast, etc., East London, like various places, particularly in Southeast, in Peckham. That's where a lot of the time we would spend summer period, Christmas with my family members. And I think what made me so tough was being around them. So it was kind of like I would go and be the only black person there, but I'd come to, Peckham and I'm with family and I feel, as part of the community. So it was like I could understand what privilege I had, but what difference I had from a very young age. And I knew how to adapt. And then what made me tough, I think, to deal with the racism is when you're speaking to your cousins who live in a predominantly a community where there's diverse, they're not dealing with some of the issues you're dealing with. I'm not talking about when we get older now and you're having to deal with some of the, hidden racism. I'm talking about the direct racism that I faced when I would be young. They wasn't getting on the bus and someone was chanting monkey, or calling them the N-word. They weren't dealing with that. So I understood I had to be tough. And my mum also instilled that in me. And I went through quite a lot growing up, having to lose my cousin. That made me tough. That like coming to school, I remember it was 2007. My cousin was shot dead in Peckham. I came into school and nobody knew about what was happening, with knife crime and gun crime back then. And it was like I was in a total different world. Like I've just found out my cousin's died. I've come into school and everybody else is with their LV bags running around. Like life is fine for them. That's when I 100% knew, this is, I don't know what it was. It was just like there's different worlds and realities to different people. So I think when I got into politics, I was used to dealing with certain things, challenges, and having to just overcome them because certain groups would not understand. And I was used to dealing with racism or not being part of the groups or cliques or whatever it is. So it didn't really concern me if people didn't like me in politics, or certain residents I couldn't win them over. And also I've got a lot of religion, like faith is my biggest thing. And reading the Bible, it just teaches me how to maneuver certain situations.
I'm hearing a lot of identity within that. That's what I get from that. So the faith aspect is that I know who I am, I know where I come from, etc. And because of that, you can't tell me this or you can't tell me that. This isn't going to affect me maybe the way it might affect somebody else.
That's correct.
Then also with the family aspect as well, like you've got that strong family unit. So whilst you're in Essex and growing up around all that nonsense growing up, you're spending a lot of time coming back to London and then being entrenched. So you've got that family value, cultural value, all that kind of stuff. And I think all of that helps a lot, because it helps us that it's like you're not by yourself, you kind of develop that sense of self-identity, and it makes it a lot easier to deal with the stuff that you're going through in Essex growing up. Something else I wanted to touch on as well is before you got into maybe this world of politics and that kind of thing, you got kicked out of school, or suspended from school, I should say.
Yes.
Quite a few times.
Yes.
And from college as well.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
It is. No one would have thought I would be here right now. Oh, God.
Which is why people always deserve chances. Second, you never know, man. People turn their lives around. Like, what was the first suspension about? And
gosh.
What was happening at the time?
You know what? I went to school in Brentwood. My school was called Soysville. It's shut down now. I mean, probably reasons why, because it had gone through Ofsted, rebranded, over and over again.
Sounds like my old school.
Yeah, they even brought someone in as a head teacher from America. Like it just wasn't working.
Yeah.
Would I say my educational establishment let me down? Most likely, yes. Especially being, like I said, I was only one or two, like within my year group of who was black. So there was little things that I picked up, and I think my mum picked up on. Why was I suspended? I was just a very colourful child, and I think sometimes people don't really know how to deal with colourful children. Straight away, they just brand you as, especially if you're black. And like I said, I went to school in Brentwood. You can imagine what it was like. Yeah. I think they just saw me, someone who likes to talk, someone who's opinionated, someone who is just vibrant, has a lot of energy. And some people just, it just irritates them. They want to dim it. And that, I think, just made me just want to outburst. And I think because of how my parents were, my mum's such a loving person. She could just see something about me. I don't know what it was. She could always see it. So I think for her, it was like she always understood. She just didn't like when I lied. Tele, why are you lying? Yeah. But what was I suspended for, first of all? I think I was suspended for, they apparently said I orchestrated a whole water fight in the school. Like it was a massive big water fight. And I remember like they grabbed only me, despite like everybody being involved in that water fight. They grabbed me only. And then they were like dragging me into the offices. And I just got so angry and irritated. And I was the only one who got suspended. And my mum's a very smart woman. She would always come and be like, so why is it my daughter that's being suspended? But yeah, every single person who was there, none of them was suspended. So my daughter's the only mastermind that can orchestrate everything and nobody else is involved. You know, as you grow older, you just look at it and think, come on, I was being targeted.
Yeah. What was their rebuttal? What did they say to that?
Nothing. I was always just put in isolation and I was always suspended for 1 to 2 days. Other time, I remember a guy had gone into my bag and then he pulled out the deodorant. And you know when they spray it on you? Yeah. And he sprayed it on me and I just flipped. I went crazy. I got suspended for that. I was a bit of a fighter. I'm a tough cookie. So, yeah, I got suspended for fighting. If someone attacked me, I would, yeah. So that was mainly it. Then college. Some girls had started on my friend and then I jumped in. I don't like bullies. I don't like people attacking people. And yeah, I jumped in. And the worst thing it was because it was like my mum had tried so hard for me in secondary school. Thank God I got my GCSEs, which nobody expected me to get.
Well, were you academic in school?
No, I was creative. Okay. I did history, drama, creative media in college and performing arts. In secondary school, I got 11 A stars to C. I did well in business. I did well in history. I mean, kind of probably says why I got into politics. I did well in drama as well. So yeah, it's interesting because I'm just reflecting now. And then, yeah, I got to college. I wanted to study law, but my mum said no. She told me to go and do performing arts and creative media.
Oh, what?
Yeah, my mum really can see. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, my mum can always see. I wanted to study law.
Yeah.
And my mum was like, no.
Usually it's the other way around. When I come, yeah.
Right.
My family was definitely the other way around.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I got suspended in college, it was like my mum, she didn't tell my dad either because my dad would have sent me to Nigeria. And my mum just was so disappointed in me. And then it just changed me. And then I became student of the year. It was just weird. It was just like a battle. I don't know.
What was it about that last time? What changed?
I remember I came in and then the guy who suspended me, he gave me the letter and he said, you have to tell your parents. Whereas before they would call my mum, you know, and my mum was like, they always leave me voicemail because my mum's always at work. Like, oh my God, she probably doesn't know. Yeah. So this time they gave me the letter and they said I had to go and tell my mum. So I remember I got on the bus. I went to Havering sixth form. I was sitting on the bus with this letter and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm an adult now. I have to tell them, like, you know, and if I get kicked out of college, chances of getting into university come on. So I don't know. It just made me, I don't know. I just changed.
Yeah.
I didn't change because I'm still strong-willed and opinionated, but I just changed in the sense I didn't want to be attacked all the time, or I didn't want to be misunderstood. So I was going to try my hardest to be the best I possibly can. So I just started working, focusing on college, and it was the change.
Yeah, I see. And then you went to university and studied your broadcast journalism.
Yes, I did.
And then went into politics.
So actually, broadcast journalism, did some internships in PR, worked for a charity doing PR, went to Nigeria to do journalism because I thought I was going to be a journalist, got into public relations. It was a random one, financial PR, like blockchain, early days. It was just random stuff. Writing press releases for brokers. I really don't know how I ended up there. And then I went to Metro Bank, which I loved, was doing regional public relations for them. And then I got into politics.
Into politics, so you described yourself as a colourful person.
Yes.
So you used to bring I suppose you used to bring yourself to your political work. Like you dress how you dress, you know, do your fashion, do your thing, innit?
Yeah.
And then you face some backlash.
Yeah.
For the campaign poster.
Yeah.
And what's interesting actually, because I saw the campaign poster, I was looking at your LinkedIn, your banner is you in that same outfit.
Oh, 100%.
Yes. It's like, what do you want me to do? It's like, now it's like, cool, everybody, you're owning it. I was like, cool, this is me.
Right.
But for people that don't know what that is actually, could you explain what happened actually?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
So I was a councillor and then I was working in Parliament for an MP, Meg Hillier. Absolutely love that woman. And then the snap election came. So it was 2019. I had been chosen by the Labour Party to stand as the parliamentary candidate for Hornchurch and Upminster CLP. I was so thankful, absolutely. But the reason why the announcement for my constituency, it was because it wasn't a safe seat. So they don't really prioritise it. Therefore, it was done very, very quickly. So when I had got into place, it was like, okay, we need to do an announcement. We need to just get leaflets, pictures and everything. Like everything needs to be sorted. So I was like, okay, that's fine. Had the announcement, which you would have seen that picture on my LinkedIn. That's Meg Hillier, who I just adore that woman because she saw something in me. She is a safe MP, as they would class it, and she is the chair of the Public Accounts Committee, very high position, and she decided to come all the way to Havering, non-safe seat, and support me. So yeah, I was wearing this red little jumpsuit that day because it was the announcement, meeting. Like it was just to announce it to the RCLP. I had the meeting, there was pictures done, and then we had a leaflet. Now, what people need to understand, there are people around me who are supporting me. It's not just yourself as a candidate. There are people around you who are your advisors, who are your secretary, who are supporting you, right? So when the leaflet was done, it gets authorised by the Labour Party. So you have to get everything authorised by the Labour Party. It was signed off, right? I don't get to just pick and say, I want this because I look pretty. No, there's processes and procedures. Like think if you're working in a corporate industry, right?
Yeah.
If you were to post, if they were doing thought leadership, right, it has to go through a team.
Yeah.
It's the same in the Labour Party. I didn't just get to decide I wanted this. So it got authorised, it got produced and sent out. Understand, I'm not going to blame my age or anything. Do I think it was the most appropriate picture? Yeah, I do actually. I'm not going to say no. I do think it was an appropriate picture. I do not care what anybody tells me, because I was the one who was involved in politics. I was the one who was doing politics. And that's me. And I've seen some other non-black people who have run or done everything wear other supposedly questionable clothes to people that would be questionable to people, but yet they wasn't, attacked like I was. So anyway, I remember the first time when someone had said the picture was a problem was I got a call from a resident after we had posted the leaflet, and it was actually a young person, and he said, in Havering, we're quite conservative, so like, I'm just a bit worried about your picture. And I just thought to myself, this is the first time I'm hearing this throughout the whole campaign. Moreover, like, look at my whole history of what I've done since I've been in politics, got people housing, stopped development being done, advocated for young people, advocated for people affected in knife crime, done so much. Look at my history, but yet you want to come to speak to me about a picture. So that was the first interaction. Then I remember I went on Twitter and I found loads and loads of people just attacking me about it. So I decided to do a picture outside of my mum's house with the we had a massive banner of it and say, this is what a politician looks like. And then it went viral, and then the Stylist and other newspaper outlets contacted me, and it caused an uproar.
Did you how did you do? Was the backlash massive?
It was. The backlash for that picture was so massive to the point that, but I was used to dealing with a lot of backlash in politics, not to do with my appearance, mainly to do with obviously, the norm that you get. Oh, you didn't vote on this telly. Oh, you didn't stand up for this. Mm-hmm. I'd never had anything at that point regarding my appearance. And the worst part of that backlash was the black women that attacked me. And wow. I will say that now. The black women that were tweeting me on social media and saying, didn't she get the memo? Doesn't she understand how to dress? I'm so confused. I have not seen you in Parliament with me. I was working in Parliament at that time for 2 MPs. Oh no, 1 at that point. I did the second one in 2020. I had never seen you in Parliament. I did not see you in the town hall. I did not see you at the Labour Party conference. I haven't seen you. But yet you are coming to tell me how I should present myself in a room that you're not in. That was the bit that hurt me. It wasn't the trolls. I can deal with a troll. Someone behind a fake account. Yeah. I've been bullied when I was younger. It doesn't concern me. But from black women who I'm standing here in my early 20s, putting my neck on the line for our community, and my community is attacking me. That's one thing I took me a long time to.
Absolutely wild. There's a lot of stuff when I talk to my missus about it all the time, where I might see some things in the media, on social media and whatnot, and if it's another black man or black woman, even if I don't agree with it, there's no way I'm going to publicly come out and start attacking them. If anything, I'll take you to the side, let's chat one-to-one. In public, I'm not going to do that, man. That's wild, man. Very, very crazy. And I was asking about whether it was massive backlash, because obviously throughout your life, you've been used to facing some backlash, maybe in school or whatnot, and racism when you're growing up and that kind of thing. But that's more on an individual basis. Whereas this one is now it's all over. You log onto the internet and then you're just seeing all sorts of stuff about you, and maybe it hits a bit different.
I mean, you're going to experience backlash when you get into politics. But I kind of just thought it's a bit silly backlash, really and truly. I know what I'm doing for my community, how I'm benefiting my community. You're so pressed about what I'm wearing. And there was actually another MP, a white woman, something similar happened to her. She was a parliament, I can't remember her name, but the same thing happened to her. And then it then brought out this kind of conversation around, why is it that women are attacked so much? So removing the colour side of it, why are women so attacked about how they dress? People like to, it's as if as women we can't win. If we're not wearing makeup, we're boring, we're plain. If we're wearing makeup, we're too, Barbie, glamorous, etc. She's not wise, smart. If we're dressed a certain way, she's dressed inappropriate. If we cover ourselves up, we can never win. So I just started to say, I'm just going to be myself, because I know the work I'm doing, the fruit that I'm producing is good. So I'm not going to allow people who are not even in the room to bother me. So the backlash to me wasn't really backlash. Plus, if you've seen most politicians, they've had a few backlash.
Yeah.
So I'd rather that than doing something corrupt and fraudulent. That's easy. I'll take that one. Yeah. How I'm dressed. Okay, that's fine.
Did you get support from the party itself?
Did I get support from the party myself? The regional or local? There's a difference.
Whoever it was that okayed the post in the first place.
Yes, I did. I did definitely say at a local level, I did. I didn't hear anything from region, no. But at local level, I heard, like, people just came out and supported me because they know who I am. You know, they've been on this journey with me since 2016 to 2019 now. We're talking, this was when we was campaigning. Like, they know who I was. So they just, yeah. And if I was supposedly, this backlash was such a big concern, I would have lost my seat. They would have told me to step down, you know? So I had support. I had people who were there. My mum was there. My mum would never let me do anything unless it's right. She's a very wise woman. So even that picture, like, my spirit just moved me to just do it. I remember I stood outside my house and I just put it up and it was like my response. And everybody just was like, it just shut everything down. It was like I spoke and everything just shut down. Or I could have allowed that to impact my mental health and stop me, you know. I could have gone into hiding. I'm not that type of person. I don't go into hiding.
What did you learn about yourself during that political period?
I didn't learn anything. I learned everything after politics.
Okay. What did you learn after politics?
My strength, my courage, my heart, my tenacity, I'm fearless, my faith, and that God was with me all the time. Like, I can't explain it. There's so many things that I had done in politics, from Havering racism, which you spoke about, from supporting the whistleblowers when they came out against the council, helping people who were going through domestic violence. Just so many things I had done that I come out of politics, I'm like, how did I do that? You know, wow, me. You see me and you're like, this one, her, you know, you just wouldn't think she could do half those things. So I think coming out of politics, that's the things that I had learned.
So it's sort of like retrospectively, you come out of it and then you look back and you'd be like, oh, okay, well, I've gone through X, Y, Z, and then this is what I've learned about myself.
Yeah.
I see. With the politics, so was there a particular situation or something, or maybe over a period of time you just felt to yourself, okay, now I feel like I've done my work here, I need to move on? Or was it down to something? Like, why the transition?
Why the transition from politics? I personally feel like I was too young at the time, and I wanted to kind of explore other career and professions for myself. Because I got elected at 22, you know? There's so much more in life. And I can always go back into politics. There wasn't like a big drastic thing that said, I cannot stand this. But what did disappoint me, I think what I started to see in the Labour Party was the language used to describe some of us. It's not every day we are an immigrant's daughter, etc. We're more than that. The other aspect for me was, we can't say we're a party of equality. We can't say we're a party that likes to help society, but yet the representation is poor in terms of people who are MPs that looked like me. And the other aspect for me was God called me to do something else. And it was a tough battle. Even people in the Labour Party were like, are you sure you want to leave? Like, are you sure? Are you serious? Yeah. No, Telly, seriously. But I had mentored a young girl. Her name's Frankie. She's currently elected in my seat. I had mentored her. I had got a job in Parliament. She worked for Claudia Webb, my old MP. So I could trust that she was going to lead the way. And furthermore, I don't believe that you should stay in the seat for 10, 20 years and not allow somebody else to come through. But yeah, I think after George Floyd and Havering racism, which was a lot, that was 2 years of fighting the council, you know. I think it took a lot on my mental health. Fighting
the council?
Yes. So after George Floyd, I had already been appointed. So as my political career was evolving, when I got elected, I was handed or appointed a position as the diversity and inclusion lead in Havering. So it was for the whole borough. And I had to draft a report. And I drafted a report, and it was a very honest report to say, you know, sorry, there's a bit of racism and discrimination. It's very blatant. I remember some of the council officers made me take out certain things, change some wording, and I refused. I said, no, I will change the wording, but I'm not taking it out.
You wanted to police your voice.
1000%. I've always been, my voice has always been silenced. So I remember the report, and coincidentally, there was not enough time for me to discuss my report, but the report's public, it's out there. That was finished, so it's a year. They actually didn't vote me to go back into that position. So I was
ruffled too many truths.
Yeah, I was like, okay, that's fine, and which is very unusual. If you look at people who've had those positions, is they usually stay again. So I was like, fine, I get it, but I didn't stop what I was doing in terms of diversity and inclusion. It's part of me. And then, yes, 2020 came, George Floyd, and I spoke out. I did an article. I called my council institutionally racist because they were institutionally racist. And I can say that because it's actually been found. I got a lot of backlash from the opposition, so Conservatives and so forth. They did a joint letter, actually, saying they do not believe in why am I coming out? I'm using this for votes and da-da-da-da. And I was like, yeah, doubt I'm using this for votes, please.
That ain't going to get you no votes in Havering.
It's not going to get me no votes in Havering, come on. Yeah. I got a lot of backlash. Then I went to the Black Lives Matter, and that, oh my God, that caused death threats and attack on social media and all sorts. But I didn't stop. I was working with a council officer, former, at the time, and she had given me loads of information. And then was able to produce a dossier with Keith Darville, who's one of my mentors, and we produced it to the council. I did the campaign, obviously, through Havering Racism. I'm very strategic in that sense, so I attack it at two sides. So publicly, we did our campaign. Internally, I was producing the dossier, was having the meetings, and then they did an investigation, and then they found that the council was institutionally racist and there was casual sexism, and then everybody went quiet. Not a single sorry, Tele. Oh, you were right, Tele. Not a wow, 2 years you were fighting this, you know. And I helped them with their action plan as well. You can see that I produced like an action plan of what I think they should be doing before I left. And I think it was just the toll on my mental health. People don't really realise when you are a change maker. Thank you for giving me that title, by the way. When you are a change maker, it takes a lot on you. You know, it really does. And you're having to be strong all the time because there's people that you need to support, people that you need to help. So you can't show weakness. People think you can show weakness. You can't. Once you show weakness, they come for you like lions. So yeah, I think that was probably what it was. It was just, I knew I was too young, and there's so much you need to learn if you want to enter politics, to be very real. There's a difference between an activist and working in policy and being an elected official. So I think I wanted to gain more about the world, experiences, career, then maybe come back into politics, who knows. So yeah, there was no big drastic thing that happened. It was just God called me, my mental health, and I feel like I wanted to explore other avenues.
When you talk, you made quite a key point there. You talk about the having to be strong in public, otherwise they're going to take you down anyways if you display any form of weakness.
Yeah.
Did you have any, in your private time or space, or do you have people around you where you could show that vulnerability and weakness?
No.
How did you do that?
No, I didn't trust anybody. So sorry. When I was in politics, there was not a single person. In terms of, I had loads of people around me. That was absolutely, I value mentorship and guidance. But in terms of like my personal friends who were outside of the political camp, no, I couldn't really be vulnerable. It was like anytime I was being vulnerable, it was being used. It was being used I'd go out, people would make, comments about myself. It felt as if because I was this politician, I couldn't hang around and be in certain spaces. I just didn't feel like I fit in. And I've always had that my whole life. I don't feel like people feel like I don't fit in. And then I can see little attacks, the comments they would make about me, little things. So now, I cut myself off from being really vulnerable. And some people will call it cold or being secretive. But it was just like, I don't really see why I have to keep on explaining problems or situations I'm going through when you're not in this space with me. Was that the right thing? Or maybe I just didn't have the right people around me. So, yeah, but I've learned now to be more vulnerable. And actually, my nature, I'm quite a public person on social media. So I'm very bubbly. So naturally, you feel like you'll know me, but you don't actually. Because the way I am, I'm just that's my aura. So sometimes I think people, if I did come with problems or struggles, they just couldn't see it. Like, they just was like, you really, and because I was so open on social media, I don't think sometimes people really invested in knowing the real me most times.
Yeah. You said there's a difference between an activist, elected politician, and I can't remember the third one, a politician, something like that. Anyway.
Yeah.
There's difference between the three of those. And do you see yourself now? So you've stepped into the world of entrepreneurship with Kouture and all of that. Do you see yourself as that, as you, although it's an entrepreneurial venture, do you see that as you stepping into that activism type space role?
In entrepreneurship, I think everything. So I was reading a book, and it's about basically your purpose, your power, and your vision. And I personally think that everything I went through was like preoccupation for my occupation. Because in entrepreneurship, right, it's very tough. Business is tough. I've been in politics. I've seen a lot, right? I've gone through a lot. So I'm ready for the business and all the different characters and the kind of the scheming, the strategy behind the business. And, you know, I'm used to seeing all of that in politics. So it's no different to what I've seen in the ecosystem that I've just kind of entered in. And then the other aspect in terms of activism, I think every one of us has to be an activist in a way. The difference between an activist and a politician is activists, they're key players in pushing and, you know, kind of getting policy makers, politicians to really see what they're saying. Now, a politician has to look at other factors. We've got to look at data. We have to look at, okay, what does this mean for this person? We have to look at, okay, is it now or is it the future? There's many more things that we look at. And sometimes we can't always go down the route the activists want us to do at that point in time because we're in the rooms and we're seeing what the games are being played. So yeah, I think that's a bit of a difference. And the policy person, they're people that sometimes don't really get to see the experience, the lived experience, and they're just pulling from, this is what this report says, this is what this report says. And it takes us politicians to look at, okay, this is what the activists are saying, and this is what the data is showing us, and the report that has been produced by, you know, the policy person, whether it's a council officer or civil servant, and me as the elected official, what is the best thing for me to do right now? So that's a bit of the difference there. And not all politicians have the public's interest. I'll put that very blank. Not all of them have the public's interest at heart. Not all of them do. Some of them are there because I want to be a politician, public figure. Some of them really do care. And I've worked for MPs who really, really do care, like really care. So yeah, I'd say that's the difference. But I think, am I an activist in the entrepreneur space? Naturally, I'm a spoke out person. So if I see data, and I think you had, I was listening to one of the podcast, Tom, and he was talking, you were both speaking about the lack of ethnic minorities receiving VC funding over 10 years.
One woman, one black woman.
One woman, and I think he said
2009 to 2019.
Right. And he said like 8 roughly.
With smaller
over.
tickets.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the same type of thing we see in most industries, the same type of thing I saw in politics. So, of course, I'm going to speak about it because it impacts me, you know? And how can you say that there's not talent within the United Kingdom, that in 10 years you've not been able to spot the talent? It doesn't make sense. It's like, it's the same thing that happens in every industry. We kind of open the door, then when we're like, oh gosh, we've opened the door a little bit, now we need to slow them down. So that's what they do. Start to slow you down, slow you down, slow you down, slow you down.
I think it's very easy to say we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But then when you need to cut a check and do something tangible, that's when you can really see whose heart is 100% in it or whether it will just lip service.
100%. And I was told, you know, you're entering the founder startup space. It's about the founding team. It's about this. Then I watched something on Netflix this week, Bitcoin. Everybody watch it. Bitcoin. I said, wow. And these are the people that are getting the investment, right? These are the people that are going off and utilizing the money, right? These are the people with integrity, right? Someone who just got pictures from LinkedIn and created something. These are the people. Well, where's the due diligence? Where was the assurance? No, seriously, where was the due diligence? Where was come on. Yeah. So I'm not a stupid person, very intelligent person. And I think all of us have activism in us. Some of us, it is activism for our own personal need because, okay, I'm going to talk about this issue because I know it will benefit me if it changes. Others, we just talk about the issue because we see it and we're like, that's not right. And you will see that throughout my whole life. When I joined Metro Bank and I spoke out because I saw Muslims praying in the cloakroom, that's what made me set up Embrace. It was Employee Network, which is still running then. Same thing why I entered politics. And then I did Havering Racism. I did everything I wanted to do in politics. I didn't have to do that. I could have been in IB for partying with my friends. I could have been, you know, flying away and doing all sorts. But I stood there fighting for others. Come out of politics, I'm still doing the same thing. It's part of me. I can't, whatever I do, it's just going to be part of me. So, yeah.
What's the goal of Kouture? And what is Kouture actually?
What is Kouture Paradise? My baby. So it started back in 2020. I went to Ghana. Couldn't find a white dress. It was supposed to be this party. I had to wear silver. So then I came home, spoke to two of my friends, and initially it was a brand, e-commerce brand. We actually wanted to have a physical boutique. Then pandemic hit. So then I built our website on Shopify, and then no one really told me that it would be so slow. So I went on to the Soho House program, and then it changed into basically now a platform that will host African designers and connect them to their customers. But I'm talking about your designers who are in the mid-market. So not ones that are focusing on high fashion luxury or fast fashion, the ones that are like up and coming and kind of want to get their name out there, but there's not a platform for them. The biggest thing for me is utilizing artificial intelligence to connect the designers and customers. But the logistics side is what's so important to me, making sure that designers' clothes can get to their customers. And I mean their local community. I'm not talking about Western or global. I'm talking about the local community, their local customers. So we're really looking at kind of electrical vehicles to get the items to their customers. So that's a big thing for me. And it's about working with designers that are under 30 as well. Not my specific, it's not a criteria, but I want to help the young and emerging talent to give them that platform to be seen. So yeah, that's what I'm building. It's been an exciting time. New team, loads of changes, loads of challenges. Yeah.
But what's the goal of it?
What are
you looking to achieve?
The biggest thing for me to achieve is I want KP to be across Africa. The other aspect for me is to make sure that designers are spotlighted. You're seeing that talent. Our culture, our designs are appropriated, but we're not given the recognition. I'm tired of that. So I really want a platform where you can see these designers' stories, their struggles. Why did they create this piece? So I don't just want it to be we sell their products. I want each of those designers to have a profile so that you can see their stories. You know who they are. You become their fan base. That's what I want. That's it. And increase our market share in the long term, because when you look at the market share of the sub-Saharan African fashion industry in the global scheme of it, it's less than 1%. That's embarrassing. I'm so sorry. Wow. Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that low, but it makes sense. I don't necessarily see African designers.
No.
But I can't think of any off the top of my head that are like, not talking African designers that are Western born. I mean, that are still back home and then sending overseas. I can't think of any off the top of my head, actually.
Right. There's such household names, right? Orange Control, etc. There's so many people, but yet, if you're not in the scene, you don't really know about that. And I want to change that. You can be out of the scene and you should know about them. And I feel like, for me, when I try to explain it to people, it's a bit like ASOS and Uber combined. Yeah. But I won't go into the artificial intelligence because that's my secret sauce. But that's literally what it will be for Africa. That's it. It will be for Africa, and that's what I want. I know people keep saying to me, oh, it can go global. I have ideas to make sure that the global pay attention to it. But naturally, I want this business to be, and where I want to start first is Nigeria. That's why I was in Nigeria in December. Yeah.
You speak about challenges. So a couple of things you mentioned there. One, that it took long. It's been taking longer than probably what you expected. Two, team. You've had to change the team around.
Yeah.
What's that? What challenges? What would you say has been like maybe one or two of the main challenges that you've faced so far, and how have you overcome, or are you overcoming those?
Trusting people in business. People will let you down. People are very beautiful people, but they have a side of them. People will let you down. And I had to learn that it wasn't that they might have been letting me down, but they might be going through things, you know? But the way you can, I think, articulate to someone that you're going through something, it can help with the way the transition may be in not working with each other, you know? There's a difference. Your character speaks, you know? So, yeah, definitely the people in the team. I had challenges. I was working with two best friends, literally. I would say these were people I class as family. People will say you shouldn't do business with friends. I disagree. You can, because we created really great work in the 2 years. Then after I got accepted onto the Soho House program, I actually had told my business partner to do it, but fear and her own challenges stopped her from doing it. Yeah. So I went ahead and did it. I even then asked the Soho House whether I could have the two of them at the showcase, because I'm that nice of a person. Don't be a people pleaser in business. Like, you have to be tough. I even said they can come and do it with me, like the showcase at the end. Both of them kind of were like, no, not really wanting to do it. Da, da, da. So I don't really understand. After the showcase finished, I said, let's have a meeting, because the both of them wanted to have a break. So this was from October 2022 to February 2023, I was on the program. So did the showcase. I now had a meeting. I sent them like 4 kind of like ways we can go about this, you know, in terms of the business relationship, the business now that I've drafted this business plan, I had this idea, it's changed a little bit, not too much, but it changed, you know, from what we had created in 2020.
Yeah.
Came onto that call and the both of them were like, we don't want to carry on. One of them said, you've done a business plan, it's too much. I was thinking, I've done a business plan, it's too much. Lord, I thought it would be a good thing that I've done a business plan. And I did not ask them to leave. And I'm a person of, my mum's always taught me, like, you treat everybody good. I think sometimes that's a bit of a problem for us Black people, because we'll continue to get abuse from people, but we'll just keep on being good, nice, especially if you're Christian, when I say some Black people, it's if you're religious, you know, how we're taught sometimes as well to be humble.
I hear you, yeah.
Yeah. So I said to them, do you know what? Appreciate you don't want to carry on, that's fine, but I'm going to make sure you get your return of investment. So everything that you invested, I'll make sure it's in our contract that when KP actually makes revenue, even if it comes out of my own pocket, I'll return it to you, because I don't believe the work that you've done should be discredited. But that's fine if you don't want to carry on with me. Don't know really what the reasons were. And then I got a whole new team.
How did you build a new team?
I'm a networker. I know a lot of people. I've met a lot of people. And I think Tom said it about, you know, not really fitting into a scene, but there's a network you've created over time. I've created a strong network. Yeah. I can call on anyone for anything, literally. So I was in my current workplace, former workplace, and I just spoke to people about the idea. And they loved it. Some people believed in me. Some people had looked at my track record, seen that I can create things, long-lasting things. So, yeah. And since then, we've just been soaring. By God's grace, thank you. Glory of God. Not that. But, yeah, that's how I got my new team, speaking to people, telling people your idea. I think we're sometimes scared to tell people our idea, or someone's going to steal it, or this and that. But understand, the idea came from you. The vision came from you. There's something about you. And the idea is always going to change from what it was. Let's be real. Nothing actually stays the same over time. So, yeah, even if you tell someone your idea and they go off and do something else, no one's you. And furthermore, you can probably sit down and look at the trends, look at data, and you can probably change your idea and it would still be timely. So, yeah, I'm never concerned to tell people what I'm planning to do, what I'm thinking to do. And, yeah, I just brought them on with the vision.
If you could go back and talk to your younger self, the one that was in school that was going through all that stuff you was going through and getting suspended and all that kind of stuff, what would you tell yourself?
Keep going. I know we always say this, but keep going. You are going to hit a glass ceiling, but just keep going, because somebody will see your light, someone will see your talent, and what people say about you, most of the time they're projecting. You are, who God has designed you to be. Just be that person and let everything flow through.
Perfect. And then before you wrap up, have you got any final words that you'd like to share with us?
This was a really great interview. I love it. It's like, you know, just sitting here and speaking to you. It just feels so comfortable and natural. And I'm just really glad you're doing this, because
appreciate it.
I feel we don't get to see, like you said, certain Black British people platformed. And I'm just really happy that you're doing this and you're showing different stories. So thank you.
Thank you for coming down. Really appreciate it, man.
No, thank you for the time.
Really good, man. Enjoyed that as well. Thank you.
That was scary.
Okay, yeah. No, that was good. And that's that. That was 1000 Voices. We had Tele Lawal on the podcast. So for now, people, we're out. Cool.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. That was great.
That was so good.
Oh.